Welcome back to Dominant Mets Nation, and I gotta say thank you so much for returning. Thank you for our last video. We did 11,000 views. Thank you. I appreciate that. The comments, they were all wonderful. Everything was amazing about that. Please stay tuned. We have another great video today. This video is going to be titled The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The Mets in their last week have kind of done, I would say, a little bit of a turnaround. A little bit of an amazing turnaround. So stick around. If you're a Met fan, if you're an MLB fan, please like and please subscribe if you like your baseball content, especially if you're a New York Mets fan. All right. Well, last week when we last spoke, we had the 5th worst record in baseball, and we were dropping fast like a stack of potatoes. We were going for that worst spot in baseball. Although there are some pretty bad records, so it would have been tough. All right, so this week we are 6-2, and today we are coming off a loss from the Cardinals. So we are 6-2 in the last week. So I gotta say that right there. Let's start off with the good. 6-2, 6-2. Who would have thought right now? Okay, so the Mets are playing with a renewed energy, a renewed passion, a fire and desire. Finally, who would have thought? I was thinking, oh no, we should have traded this core. Maybe trade away Pete Alonso. Maybe trade away Nimmo. Definitely trade away McNeil. Lindor. Oh, whoever would have took him, take this guy. I was like, why do we keep this core? We should have did a full build rebuild. But you know what? The core is showing energy. Pete Alonso is leading the way. One of the premier sluggers in baseball, and he is showing why. He is showing why you sign him to that contract, why you make him a lifetime Met. He is putting this team on his back, and I like that. I like everything about what Pete has done this week, right? I'm a guy who is willing to say a guy makes mistakes. It's how he comes back from those mistakes. And Pete has clearly made mistakes. His confrontations with the Braves, how he has acted in the clubhouse at times, what he has said in the media, and some post-game comments were a little beneath Pete. But you know what? It's not about where you've been. It's about where you are going. Pete is still 28. He is still a growing player. Now he's producing at Pete levels now on the field. Like I said, folks, he is a premier slugger. He doesn't always hit home run. He's a run producer as well. He always drives in north of 100 runs. He always drives in a lot of runs. Now he's being the leader that I know he can, and if he smashes 45 to 50 home runs, this is not something you see all the time. He has led the league in home runs since 2019. So I got to say, if Pete's going to continue this barrage of home runs and he is going to be the leader that I know he can, you got to lock him up. You have to have somebody to build around. That's bottom line. And the Mets right now are playing better this week. This week they have playing better. They need a lot to go. But the good this week is we have the energy levels of the Mets. We have the core showing some fire and desire. So their energy is good. Their core is actually showing that, that you made a good decision. It's right for keeping us. And I got to say, another really good thing that I thought about this week is the fact that Steve Cohen's ability to shift directions and abilities to admit mistakes. That is something that if you look cross town, the Yankees haven't shown that ability to shift direction, haven't shown that ability to admit mistakes. And that is a huge thing to have. That is a huge positive. And we were all thinking this. If the Mets can make the playoffs and make that huge trade-off, a sell-off at the deadline and acquire those prospects, this would have been monumental. This would have saved us from having one of the laughingstock years in MLB history. So that is something that I really like Steve Cohen and ownership's ability to admit mistakes and shift directions. Okay, now this is actually part of the bad, but I'm going to turn it in, show you the good first. Justin Verlander, obviously, he responded to what happened. Last week, we spoke about Verlander and how he was viewed in the clubhouse, how Scherzer and the teammates basically said this guy was a diva. And Verlander came back and he said, no, I'm not. It was an analytics guy that didn't like constructive criticism. I'm just helping the guy. I'm the good guy here. Well, you know what? I like the way the Mets responded to this guy. You know, Verlander, and this is part of the bad of this video, you got to really shut your mouth. You're in Houston right now. You have nothing to do with the New York Mets. And the fact that you have to worry about your own ego and talk about how an analytics guy, it was his issue, and that's who probably called you a diva. Don't worry about the guy probably making under $100,000 and you're making $43 million. It showed how petty he was. It showed that this guy probably was the problem in the clubhouse. And the way the Mets responded to that by having a phenomenal week, they show that they can be a cohesive unit together. So that's how I like. I like how they responded. Of course, part of the bad this week was Verlander and his comment. That was pathetic. That was petty. That was very small of him to do. Especially how he identified an analytics guy on the Mets team. That was ridiculous. Drop a comment. I know that was a big topic. I was going to do a video on that, but I didn't even want to waste my time on Verlander. I'm done talking about guys who are not on this team anymore. I'm done. Another part of the good is Drew Gilbert. We got Drew Gilbert for him. Drew Gilbert is lighting up the minor league system right now. He's batting like close to 360. He's making highlight reel plays in center field. Drew Gilbert, I mean, a guy we got for Verlander is killing it. So, folks, be happy about that. We got rid of somebody who wasn't working in our clubhouse. Regardless of how good he does in Houston, he wasn't working in the New York Mets clubhouse. Okay. So, now, part of the bad I want to also talk about is the Alonso Ball situation. He throws the ball in the crowd. Everybody's like, did he do it on purpose? Did he do it on accident? Well, regardless, I don't think he did it on purpose, but it started off as a bad situation. The young kid, I forgot his name. He hit the ball. It was his first hit. Alonso throws it into the stands, but I like the way Alonso responded. He profusely apologized to the kid on the field and in the locker room, on television. I'm sorry. I can't believe it. I can't believe I did that. He called himself like several names on television. He put himself in the kid's shoes. He's like, oh, when I got my first hit, oh, this is how I would have felt. So I like the fact, and he showed me more leadership qualities. The ability to put himself in other people's shoes. The ability to sympathize with younger players coming up to know how they feel. The ability to admit mistakes. These are leadership qualities. So this is what I liked from that situation. Although a bad situation, how it started, it had a good outcome. So that's what I like. Anybody else, did you notice those leadership traits that Pete Alonso exhibited in that postgame and even on the field right after it happened? Because I certainly did. Okay, so for the bad, we got Justin Verlander. We got the initial ball incident. I also got like Trevor Gott here. You know, he had 12 scoreless innings, and then he has a poor performance against St. Louis today. He's just like a middling piece, so I don't really expect much from them. But the bullpen has really been doing a lot better this week. They really have. Although we've been playing lesser opponents, the bullpen has been doing better this week than they have the rest of the year. So I gotta say, if we could develop 2 to 3 guys, and I've been saying this, if we could develop 2 to 3 guys for next year's bullpen, that would be amazing. If we could develop one starting pitcher for next year, that would also be amazing as well. So if in our minor league, if we have a Blade Tidwell come up in September, a Christian Scott or a Tyler Stewart, you get one of those guys to come up and be developed. That's one rotation spot you don't have to worry about. I mean, the Mets only have 2 guys right now in their rotation. They got Senga, they got Quintana. You know, if they develop one guy, that's another rotation spot they don't have to worry about. Then they could sign a Urias and a Yamamoto, and that's 5 guys right there. Possibly a Blake Snell to a short-term contract. So those are options for next year's bullpen. Okay, so now let's get into the ugly. And again, we got to start off with the infighting and the Verlander nonsense, right? That has been a very ugly situation this entire year. Infighting. It's been dripping the entire year, infighting, and now we are fighting a position we should have never been in. We should have never been in this position, but because of the fact that the team couldn't get its stuff together early on, we're in this situation. We are in an ugly, ugly, ugly mess. And that's where I get into Buck Showalter. Buck Showalter is definitely part of the ugly. I don't attribute anything to him this week. I don't think he has done anything different, but he has had an opportunity to do things different. He has sit back. He has laid back in that dugout, and it seems like he put up his hand. He gave up really months ago. When Steve Cohen gave him the vote of confidence, I wanted this guy to have a renewed passion for what he does, but it seemed like he did not. I don't know if he has an already worked out deal with Steve Cohen saying, all right, this is my last year. You're going to get a new guy in next year. And Steve Cohen's like, just finish out the year. But I don't like what I see. I want a guy in Buck's shoes who cares about his future with this organization. Buck clearly is not looking into the future. I don't know what is going on with him. I am so disappointed. The manager of the year from last year, and he is having such a bad year. So that is certainly part of the ugly. Carlos Carrasco, another part of the ugly. Carlos Carrasco, if the Mets want to continue building momentum, if they want to continue winning, they cannot trot this guy out there. They just cannot. Like I said, pretty soon, you replace Carrasco with a Blake Tidwell, Tyler Stewart or Christian Scott. I want to see some of the young guys. I don't care. Even if it's a Mike Vassell, Dominic Hamill, I want to see some of our young pitchers. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see Carlos Carrasco out there. No way. And here's my biggest fear that may be part of the ugly. Here is my biggest fear. My biggest fear is the Mets go on a run and they don't make the playoffs, right? They just missed the playoffs. Or another one of my fear is they don't do well and they continue to sink, but they fall just outside the bottom six. And this would be so Mets-like to miss the bottom six and to not make the playoffs. So I would say that would be the ugliest scenario that I can come up with. But if we flip it back to my initial target, let's still develop the guys, even though the end result might not be what we want or might not be what we desire. As long as the team continues to develop, as long as we continue to see growth, as long as we can build around a core that is worth building around, if Pete Alonso is going to be this Pete Alonso, this is the Pete Alonso I like. And maybe, just maybe Pete didn't get along with Verlander or didn't get along with some of these higher priced players. And now Pete's like, this is my clubhouse. Get on my back. And that's what I wanted to see. And that's what a leader does. So, and Pete Alonso, we were talking about the infighting Pete Alonso with Lindor and McNeil. We got to remember one thing, folks. These guys were successful last year. They were on the same team. The only guys who weren't were basically Justin Verlander was the biggest addition. So, and I also want to add, Vogelbach has been doing better this week too. I want to give him props. DJ Stewart, he's been doing better this week. So I want to give those guys props, and that's what you need. If you're going to be a winning team, you're going to need role players to perform, and that's what I've seen. We've had good pitching performances this week. We have role players stepped up. Obviously, Sanger's been phenomenal. Quintana's still been phenomenal. We've had a good pitching performance by Joey Lucchesi. I feel good for him. He hasn't pitched, I believe, since like May, but he's pitched very rare in these last couple of years, so I got to feel good for Joey, and that's what we're going to need. It's all about pitching. You can never, ever, ever have enough pitching, so that's why I want to see the young kids, our young pitchers, bring them up. Carlos Carrasco is not the future. He's only here to eat up innings, but at this point right now when the season does not matter, I don't want to see him in there. So, folks, if you could leave your reaction, what do you think about this year? What do you think about the good, the bad, and the ugly? That's what I feel. Just to recap, the good, we have Pete Alonso. We have the energy, the fire, desire of the team. We have Steve Cohen's willingness to change, shift, admit mistakes. The bad, we have Verlander attacking an analytics guy. We have the initial Alonso throwing the ball into the crowd situation. The ugly, we have the infighting all year long. We have Carlos Carrasco, an older veteran pitching. Buck Showalter, I don't know what he's doing. But, folks, I really respect your opinions. The comments are wonderful, phenomenal. I mean, I cannot. I'm showing some of these comments to my wife. Some of these comments are masterpieces. I mean, I've like professional sports writers, commentators, all with the feedback. It is wonderful. I apologize that I was not able to put out a video in the last week, but me and my wife were involved in a real estate transaction. It's a first home purchase, and it's been a bit like kind of stressful. You have the deal, then you lose the deal, then you have the deal, then you get attorneys. It's been a little a lot this week. So I apologize for not putting out any videos, but thank you to everybody who's watched this video. And I'll say what I always say with the Mets: can't get any worse, but it probably will. Let's see what happens. As always, let's go Mets. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you so much. Please like, please subscribe. It means so much. Have a great night.